Good to see so many smiling faces today on this historic occasion that undoubtedly will go down in the history books for our great state. There's many people to thank. I'm going to get that to in a moment, but I want to start with the leadership in the General Assembly, to Leader Brady and Leader Durkin, to Speaker Madigan, and to my Senate President and my friend John Cullerton. I have to admit that when the negotiators on the bill were tasked with a job and we handed that off to you, I was a little nervous. I felt like I was handing one of my children over to you, but you delivered a product that we can all be proud of. So I thank the four of you very much for the work that you did to bring us to this occasion. Senator Morrill, thank you for the invitation to be in your Senate district. I'm going to amend my colleague's remarks from the south suburbs. I had a long way to drive today. I think it was 5 hours in the car, but it was worth every minute to get here. This is a historic moment for our state. We all know that. More importantly, it's a historic moment for the children of our state. There is so much that can be said about this piece of legislation that we all know, but I think many of these things deserve to be said today. This bill represents compromise between Democrats and Republicans. That's important. This bill is the culmination of years of work, work that began long before I was ever elected to the state Senate. That should be noted here this afternoon. This legislation ends the least equitable system of school funding in the country. We know that. We indicted the system, but we didn't just indict it. We put something in place that would correct all of the ills that surround it. And it is proof that even in a polarized system, grassroots advocacy works. Many of those advocates are here today, and I thank you for the work that you've done over the course of about 5 years. But there's more. There's more to this bill. This bill wages a war on poverty in the classroom. That's what this bill does. It ends a great racial divide that we have in the state, where we know that in Illinois there's no greater divide between investment in minority students and investment in their white counterparts. That is a stain on our state. The governor's signature is going to correct that this afternoon. And here's one more, and Mayor, I appreciate you bringing this up in your remarks. And we don't talk about this enough in Springfield, but it stares down rural poverty. That's a conversation that we need to have. This bill will put resources in the poorest classrooms in rural counties in southern Illinois. And for that, I thank each of you for advocating for the students that I represent. For me, this journey began in December of 2012, right after the November election. I wasn't even sworn into office, and the superintendents that I represent in their school districts, they invited me to a meeting. And it was in the basement of Litchfield Hospital, right off of I-55, and they literally locked the door, and I sat there for about 2.5 hours. And they said to me, Senator-elect, this has to change. It has to change for our kids. It has to change for your 3 kids that are in a small rural public school, and it has to change for kids in all parts of the state. Kids in Chicago, kids in suburban districts, kids in the smallest towns all over our state. So I left that room, not being naive to this, because I served as the chief of staff to President Cullerton for several years. I knew what it was going to take. I knew it because Reverend Meeks put it inside of me when I helped him draft Senate Bill 750 when he was in the Senate. But I also knew that at the end of the day, it had to change, because absent of that change, the inequity was going to get deeper and deeper. Inequity is too common of an experience for the children in the state of Illinois, and that ends today, and it's going to end when this bill becomes the law. I want to thank Senator Lightford, who was my co-pilot in the Senate, who encouraged me when I fell down, and we stumbled along the way to get back up and to keep going and to go stronger and harder until we reached the finish line. We would not be here, Kimberly, without your efforts. I thank you very much. I want to thank someone who I failed to thank on the Senate floor, and that's Dr. Beth Purvis, for her work, not just with her commission, but her work as the Secretary of Education in the state of Illinois. Certainly to the members of the Funding Illinois Future Coalition, which I think started out as a couple of people, and along this path and along this race, people joined the effort. It was literally one of the most impressive grassroots advocacy efforts I think our state has ever seen in its history. Because of that advocacy, we have gotten to the point to where the legislature can present Governor Rauner a bill that can be signed into law, which many said would never, ever happen in the state of Illinois.